The wind swept cold across the barren plains of Zakara 4, carrying with it the scent of ozone and scorched earth. Above the desolate battlefield, sleek silver starships hung like predatory birds, casting long shadows over the fractured soil. The Valkyrie Guard had arrived, their armor gleaming in the harsh light of the distant sun. Known throughout the Galactic Coalition as the deadliest regiment of women soldiers, they carried the weight of countless victories, and the arrogance that often accompanies invincibility. Commander Lyra Vess stood at the head of her unit, her eyes sharp beneath the polished helmet. Her reputation was as fierce as her tactical mind. Every mission she led ended with decisive triumph. Every battlefield echoed her name in whispered awe or dread. To Lyra, Earth's forces were little more than a minor annoyance. Primitive, disorganized, and unworthy of the advanced warfare employed by the Coalition's finest. The snipers, in particular, were a curious anomaly. Reports described them as ghosts, elusive, stealthy, but Lyra dismissed these tales as exaggeration and propaganda. "Deploy the front line," she ordered crisply. "Sweep the outpost and flush out any remaining resistance. No mercy for insurgents." Her voice held no doubt. To her, this was a routine operation, a swift clearing of an outdated human stronghold that should have fallen months ago. The Galactic Coalition had long underestimated Earth's tenacity, but Lyra felt confident their superior training and technology would finally end the stalemate. Meanwhile, hidden beneath the twisted metal and rubble of what was once a thriving settlement, Mira crouched motionless, her breath slow and controlled. She was a sniper of Earth's Special Reconnaissance Unit, one of a handful trained in the lost arts of patience, silence, and precision. Myra's dark eyes scanned the horizon, her gloved fingers steady on the worn stock of her rifle. Her uniform, patched and faded, bore the marks of countless missions in hostile environments. She knew the Valkyrie Guard's reputation well. It was why she and her team had chosen this battlefield. They needed to prove that the human spirit and ingenuity could still challenge the galaxy's mightiest warriors. A crackle in her comlink whispered a warning. Valkyrie forces were advancing faster than predicted. Mira signaled her squad to hold. Their orders were clear: disrupt, delay, survive. The first volley of gunfire shattered the quiet, sharp and precise. Valkyrie soldiers moved with synchronized grace, their armor absorbing much of the counterattacks. Yet casualties trickled in, subtle but significant. The Galactic Command attributed these losses to environmental hazards, improvised mines, hidden traps, but Mira knew better. Her team was already making their mark. In the command ship orbiting high above, Lyra paced the bridge. Holographic screens flickered with real-time battle data. "What's the casualty report?" she demanded. "Minor, Commander," her tactical officer replied. "No indication of sniper activity. Likely environmental or insurgent ambushes." Lyra shook her head in frustration. "Enough with excuses. If these Earth rebels want a fight, we'll give them one, on our terms." Her eyes narrowed as a new message pinged on her console, footage from ground sensors showing fleeting shadows, subtle muzzle flashes caught in peripheral scans. She dismissed it with a swipe. "Ghost stories," she muttered. "They hide in the rubble like rats. No match for Valkyrie precision." Yet as the day wore on, the losses grew. Officers and communication teams were taken out by shots that seemed to come from nowhere. The advanced tracking systems failed to pinpoint the source. Whispered rumors began among the ranks. There were snipers, after all, and they were human. But Lyra refused to let doubt seed. Back on the ground, Mira adjusted her scope, lining up her next target, a heavily armored officer barking orders into a comm unit. The shot was clean, a silent punctuation that echoed through the chaos. Another thread unraveled in the tapestry of the Galactic Forces Command. Her team melted into the shadows, disappearing as silently as they had struck. In the Valkyrie Guard's camp that evening, Lyra convened a war council. Around the table, the elite women officers exchanged guarded glances. None dared contradict their commander openly, but beneath the surface, uncertainty churned. "We are dealing with something unconventional," Lieutenant Kira noted cautiously. "These aren't ordinary guerrillas. Their tactics are calculated and patient. We cannot rely solely on tech superiority." Lyra's glare cut through the room. They are humans. Primitive, disorganized. They cannot stand against us. We will increase patrols, deploy counter-sniper units. End of discussion. Yet the room held its breath, sensing the tension beneath her conviction. Meanwhile, Mira and her squad prepared for another night operation. They moved like shadows, invisible even to the most advanced sensors. Every breath was measured, every heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of survival. They had become the ghosts the Galactic women had ignored, the silent storm gathering strength. As the first stars pierced the darkening sky, Mira whispered into the comlink, "Prepare for the final phase. The battle will change tonight." Above, the Valkyrie Guard remained blind to the storm brewing beneath their feet, a storm of silent shots and unseen precision that would soon redefine the war. And in that quiet before the storm, the line between hunter and hunted began to blur. The night cloaked the battlefield in a velvet shadow, broken only by the intermittent flare of tracer rounds and the distant hum of patrol drones scanning for threats. The Valkyrie Guard, once confident and unshakable, now moved with cautious precision, their usual swagger replaced by wary calculation. A chilling silence had fallen over the troops, a silence punctuated by the invisible, deadly presence of Earth snipers. From her concealed vantage point high in the skeletal remains of an ancient tower, Mira adjusted her scope with practiced ease. The crosshairs rested gently on the chest of a Galactic officer pacing beside a communications relay. Myra's breathing slowed, her heartbeat a steady drum beneath the tension. With a trigger squeeze almost imperceptible, the officer collapsed silently, his body crumpling against the dusty floor. No alarm sounded, only the subtle shifting of shadows as the human sniper melted back into the ruins. News of the kill spread swiftly through the ranks of the Galactic soldiers, igniting whispers that betrayed their unease. Commanders convened emergency strategy sessions aboard their orbiting command vessels, grappling with a foe they had underestimated. The losses were small in number but devastating in effect. Leaders and technicians struck down with ruthless efficiency, communications disrupted, and morale beginning to fray. "Where are they coming from?" Lieutenant Kira demanded during a tense briefing. "Our sensors should pick up any hostile signatures. Our counter-sniper drones are deployed." "Nothing consistent," the tactical officer replied, fingers dancing across his console. "The signatures are faint, irregular. The snipers use the terrain masterfully, exploiting every shadow and crevice." Commander Lyra's jaw tightened. "This isn't just guerrilla skirmishing. These humans have studied us. They anticipate our moves, strike with patience and precision." Myra's squad had become a ghostly scourge, their tactics an enigma to the technologically reliant Valkyrie Guard. Unlike the Coalition's warriors, who favored overwhelming firepower and swift dominance, these Earth snipers thrived on stillness and invisibility. They used patience as a weapon, their every shot calculated to destabilize and demoralize rather than to annihilate outright. In a makeshift shelter carved beneath the rubble, Mira shared a brief moment of rare respite with her closest comrade, June. The two women exchanged a glance filled with silent understanding, a shared burden of responsibility heavier than any armor. "They think they can outgun us," June whispered. "But they don't understand the art of waiting. We strike when they least expect it. Every shot changes the battlefield." Mira nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon for signs of movement. "Their pride blinds them. They won't adapt until it's too late." Across the war-torn landscape, the Galactic women soldiers attempted to adapt. Counter-sniper teams deployed advanced scanning arrays, and patrols moved with increased caution. Yet each effort was met with frustration. The snipers vanished like smoke, leaving behind only the silence of their lethal signatures. A Valkyrie sniper unit ventured into the dense thickets near the eastern ridge, determined to flush out Myra's squad. Equipped with high-frequency sensors and nanoscopic drones, they combed the area methodically. But human ingenuity defied even the most sophisticated tech. Myra's team anticipated the incursion, setting traps and decoys that lured the hunters into ambushes. The encounter was swift and brutal. One by one, the Galactic snipers fell to unseen marks, their confidence shattered by the humans' intimate knowledge of terrain and timing. When the survivors withdrew, their report was grim. The enemy was always one step ahead, their tactics a blend of stealth, patience, and ruthless efficiency. Inside the command ship, Lyra's facade of invincibility cracked. The reality of the situation pressed on her like an unyielding weight. "We are not prepared for this kind of warfare," she confessed to her closest advisors. "They have weaponized silence." A flashback interrupted her thoughts, memories of her early training when every mission was a straightforward engagement of firepower and strategy. The new enemy challenged everything she had been taught. The human sniper's ability to disappear into the environment, to strike without warning, was a stark contrast to the high-tech supremacy she had taken for granted. In the stillness of the night, Mira moved again, each step measured, every breath controlled. Her rifle, an extension of her will, was her voice in the cacophony of war. As she found her next target, an officer coordinating a troop movement, her finger tightened on the trigger. The shot was a whisper. The officer's plans died with him. Behind enemy lines, whispers of the silent shots grew into legends. Galactic soldiers spoke in hushed tones of the ghosts who could kill without warning or trace. Fear gnawed at their ranks, eroding the certainty that had once defined them. Yet even as the Valkyrie Guard struggled, pride remained. Lyra refused to concede defeat or to acknowledge the skill behind these human sharpshooters fully. Her command was unyielding: escalate patrols, reinforce security, and find the snipers by any means necessary. But each move played into Myra's hands. The humans adapted with a fluidity born of desperation and cunning. Every failure for the galactic forces was a victory for Earth's defenders. One night, as Mira observed from her perch, a Valkyrie counter-sniper team entered her domain. She watched them move cautiously, confident yet unaware of the deadly dance unfolding around them. Using signals barely audible to the untrained ear, Mira coordinated her squad's movements. They struck in unison, swift and invisible. When the dust settled, the counter-snipers lay silent, their mission a failure. The message was clear: the hunters had become the hunted. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the galactic soldiers gathered to assess their losses and plan their next move. The snipers' assault had not only disrupted the command but also pierced the invulnerability the Valkyrie Guard had long relied upon. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Lyra addressed her officers. "We cannot afford complacency. We must rethink everything. The enemy is not what we expected." The room was heavy with unspoken acknowledgement. The battlefield was changing, and so too must the warriors who fought upon it. Far from the command ship, Mira allowed herself a brief smile. The silent shots were reshaping the war, striking fear into the hearts of the galaxy's finest. Yet more than fear, they were forcing a reckoning, a realization that Earth's women warriors were not just surviving but rewriting the rules of engagement. The night held its breath as both sides prepared for what would come next. For in the silence of those unseen shots lay a promise. The battle was far from over, and the outcome was still unwritten. The dawn crept slowly across the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over the battered terrain where countless skirmishes had transformed a once pristine world into a scarred arena of conflict. In the heart of this war-torn expanse, the tide of battle was shifting, subtly at first, then with an undeniable force that unsettled even the most hardened veterans of the Galactic Coalition. Commander Lyra Vess stood rigid in the command ship's central operations chamber, her eyes fixed on the flickering holomap that displayed the latest troop movements and casualty reports. The familiar contours of victory had blurred into a labyrinth of uncertainty. The once mighty Valkyrie Guard had been worn down by the relentless precision of Earth's snipers. Each calculated shot, each silent elimination, chipped away not only at their numbers but at their confidence. "Report," Lyra commanded, voice taut with barely concealed frustration. Lieutenant Kira stepped forward, her expression somber yet resolute. "Our forces have lost another platoon near the northern ridge. The snipers struck without warning. No traces, no patterns. They seem to anticipate every maneuver we make." Lyra's fists clenched at her sides. The technology that once gave them unassailable dominance now betrayed them. Their sensors were fooled, their drones destroyed or rendered ineffective. The human sharpshooters had become a ghostly plague, elusive and deadly. Amidst the chaos, Mira remained a figure of calm precision. She crouched amid the ruins of a shattered outpost, her rifle poised, eyes sharp with the unwavering focus of a seasoned hunter. Each mission was a test of endurance and strategy, each shot a carefully weighed gamble. Her mind flickered briefly to June, her partner in this silent war. They were the embodiment of humanity's enduring spirit, resilient, adaptive, and fiercely intelligent. Their tactics had evolved beyond survival. They were now tools of disruption, sowing confusion and fear among the galactic forces. Across the battlefield, a shift was underway. Galactic commanders convened an emergency council aboard the flagship Aegis, a massive warship orbiting the contested planet. The air buzzed with tension as officers debated strategies that ranged from cautious withdrawal to full-scale assault. "This situation demands a new approach," Lyra declared, her voice carrying the weight of command. "We cannot outgun an enemy we cannot find. We must learn to think like them." The room fell silent, the gravity of her words sinking in. To adapt was to admit vulnerability, and vulnerability was a bitter pill for the Valkyrie Guard. Meanwhile, Myra's squad prepared for an audacious operation, one that would tip the scales further. Intelligence had revealed a key command center, a nexus of galactic communication, deeply embedded within the hostile terrain. Disabling it could cripple the enemy's coordination, opening a path for Earth's forces to reclaim lost ground. Under the cover of darkness, Mira led her team through a gauntlet of patrols and sensor arrays. Each movement was a lesson in patience and stealth, every step calculated to avoid detection. The ruins whispered secrets, and the sniper squad listened closely. Reaching the command center's perimeter, they encountered heavier defenses than anticipated: automated turrets, shield generators, and rapid response squads. Yet, the humans exploited every weakness. Using improvised explosives and synchronized sniper fire, they dismantled the defenses piece by piece, turning the enemy's own technology against them. Inside the command hub, alarms blared, and chaos erupted. Galactic soldiers scrambled to respond, but the human infiltrators were already ghosts, slipping through corridors and eliminating targets with surgical precision. Myra's pulse quickened as she reached the central console. Her fingers danced across the interface, planting a virus that would sever communications and cripple enemy coordination for critical hours. The mission's success hinged on timing and escape. Just as they began their withdrawal, an unexpected explosion rocked the facility. Reinforcements had arrived sooner than anticipated. A fierce firefight ensued in the claustrophobic halls, the sounds of gunfire and shouted commands echoing through metal corridors. Mira and her squad moved as one, covering each other with practiced efficiency. When at last they breached the exit, the battlefield was transformed. The disruption caused by their sabotage had thrown the galactic forces into disarray, fracturing their command and control. Back on the Aegis, the shockwaves of the attack reverberated. The flagship's holomap displayed pockets of chaos where once coordinated battalions marched. Communications blackout zones spread like a virus, complicating response efforts. Lyra faced her officers, her gaze steely. "This is the turning tide. We either adapt and overcome, or we fall." Her words struck a chord. The Valkyrie Guard began to shift their tactics, integrating lessons from their adversaries. Small, agile units replaced cumbersome battalions. Patience replaced impatience. Stealth replaced brashness. The war was no longer a straightforward clash of might but a complex chess game, where each move required calculation and foresight. In the shadows beyond the battlefield, Mira allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. The silent shots had done more than kill. They had shaken the foundation of the Galactic Coalition's confidence. And with each success, the promise of a new future for humanity glimmered on the horizon. Yet the battle was far from over. The turning tide carried with it the weight of countless sacrifices and the uncertain hope of victory. Both sides prepared for what would come next, aware that the outcome would reshape not only this war but the fate of the galaxy itself. The horizon blazed with the first light of a new day, but the war's true dawn was only just beginning. The battlefield lay quiet beneath a sky streaked with the soft hues of dawn, the once raging conflict reduced to scattered embers of tension. Commander Lyra Vess stood on the bridge of the Aegis, gazing through the expansive viewport at the war-torn landscape below. The endless expanse of shattered ground and shattered lives weighed heavily on her heart, yet within that desolation stirred an unexpected sense of respect, one forged in fire and honed by survival. The last months had tested the Galactic Coalition beyond any prior war. What began as an exercise in superiority had evolved into a profound reckoning. Humanity's snipers, silent, invisible, relentless, had shattered the Valkyrie Guard's confidence and forced a re-evaluation of everything the Coalition had believed immutable. It was a humbling lesson in adaptability and perseverance. Lyra's voice was steady as she addressed the remaining commanders gathered around her. We underestimated them. They fought not just with weapons, but with unyielding will and tactical brilliance. It's clear now, respect is earned through action, not assumed by rank or technology. Her statement was met with nods, a silent admission that the era of arrogance was over. Below the surface of grudging respect, a more profound transformation had begun. Lines once drawn in the dust between enemies blurred as the true cost of endless conflict became undeniable. Among the shattered battalions and fractured command chains, tentative messages flickered through static and secure channels, words of ceasefire, negotiation, and an unusual proposal. Mira received the first encrypted communication in the dead of night. The message was simple but charged with significance, an invitation to parley. The Galactic Council sought dialogue, not as conquerors, but as equals willing to understand. As Mira gathered her team beneath the cover of the stars, the weight of this moment settled over her. The battlefield had changed, but so had the possibilities for peace. The snipers who had once been ghosts now carried the potential to bridge divides. The parley convened on neutral ground, a floating station orbiting a distant moon. Galactic dignitaries arrived with measured caution, their formidable presence softened by the shadows of recent defeats. Humanity's representatives came with open eyes and guarded hope. Lyra and Mira faced one another across a polished conference table, their history written in shared battles and hard-won respect. The room was tense, charged with the unspoken stories of loss and survival. We have fought fiercely, Lyra began, her tone tempered by humility. But it is clear that this war serves no one. The strength of your people lies not just in their skill, but in their resolve. We must find a new way forward. Myra's gaze was steady. We fought because we had no choice. Our home was threatened. But now, we seek not just survival, but understanding. Our silence was our shield, but it must not be our barrier. Discussions stretched into hours, days even, as both sides laid bare their grievances and aspirations. The Galactic Council, for the first time, listened to Earth's warriors as equals, acknowledging their innovations and the fierce independence that had long been dismissed. Slowly, alliances formed, fragile but promising. Joint training exercises were proposed, sharing of tactical knowledge began, and the foundations for a coalition built on mutual respect and cooperation took shape. For Mira, the transformation was deeply personal. She had gone from an unseen sniper haunting the shadows to a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Her leadership and courage inspired those around her to believe that even in the darkest times, change was possible. Yet, the road ahead remained uncertain. Old wounds festered beneath new alliances, and trust was a delicate currency. The specter of betrayal lingered, reminding all involved that peace was a prize hard-earned and easily lost. Back on the Aegis, Lyra reflected on the journey from dismissal to respect. She knew that the Valkyrie Guard's evolution was not just tactical but philosophical. The war had forced them to confront their prejudices and rethink the meaning of strength. We fought shadows and silence, she mused, and in doing so, we found ourselves. Respect is more than acknowledgement. It is a commitment to listen, to adapt, and to honor the courage of all. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the station's gleaming corridors, Mira and Lyra stood side by side, gazes fixed on a horizon no longer defined by conflict but by potential. The galaxy was vast, its future uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, hope glimmered, born from silent shots that had changed a battle and a war. The reckoning was over. A new chapter had begun.